So,
Yes, we can
Yes,
hear
we
you.
can hear you.
Ah, finally. Okay. Thank you. Okay, start recording. Just give me a minute, please. All right, welcome back, guys. Sorry for the technical difficulties. I'll just share my screen now. Then we can kick off. Okay, cool. Can you see my screen? Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can.
yes, we can.
Okay, great. So welcome back. Please, as usual, please let's turn on our camera so that we can engage. So before we went on break, we were talking about some of the misconceptions of testing. And then we did talk about the fact that testing cannot guarantee a bug-free application or software. And we were just going through the discussion on that. I can't remember. Was it Moses? Somebody had a question. Did somebody have a question on that before we went on break? So we clarified that, the fact that we've tested thoroughly does not mean that a software or the application will be bug free. There's always, inherent bug in a software for different reasons. Because the nature of software is such that it is very flexible, it's fluid. You can change, you can make changes, you can, add to the software through requirement changes. You can add to the code, and then deploy it on different environments. It is not like a building project where once you build something, it's rigid, it's stable. You cannot move a building, right? We all know that we can't move a building. So software is not like that. We can change its form, we can make modification, and that is why, by its nature, there are more defects. And the fact that we've tested thoroughly does not mean that um, we've absolutely guaranteed no bugs. So in case you hear it from people, as a professional, you have to debunk the myth or misconception, right? You might find hundreds of bugs, but it doesn't mean that the application is bug free. Is that clear? Does anybody have any question on this? Is that clear?
Yes, it
So the
is.
next
Yes, it's clear.
the next point, automated testing can replace manual testing. This is another misconception. Let's discuss. Does anybody have any thoughts on this? Automated testing, do you understand what the automation means? Do you
Automation,
understand what it means? Yeah?
yes, sir. Automation is whereby mix of automated tools like software to do our testing, like
Yeah, yeah.
maybe Selenium WebDriver. So IntelliJ for Selenium testing for web application and
Yeah.
Apion for mobile application. But we can't replace manual. We can't totally replace manual testing because there's some kind of testing that you need to do with manual, like all this cache. You can't run cache by automation based on my little understanding on that.
Thank you for your contribution, Adrian. Yeah, who wants to add more point to this? Who understands what automation means? Let's break it down. What does automation mean? That is it, yeah?
Automation uses the assistance of test, um,
scripts and tools. So whereby manual testers are not able to like identify the issues, the use of automation comes into play because tools will be used and scripts to be used to like go through those existing issues, then correct them.
That's something we need to debunk. So you're just hold on to that point. You just said in the case where manual test is not sufficient to find an issue, you can use automation. Is that what you said? Using tools, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's hold that point. Raymond, thank you, Adaise, for your contribution. Thank you. Raymond?
Yeah, I believe the manual testing is the first step of testing. Manual testing is the first step of testing. On my research online, you have to go through manual testing first, but that does not mean that okay. Now, automated testing is the use of tools, testing tools and softwares and or equipment. Yeah, tools and equipment, which also come in handy. At times, manual testing is enough, but I don't think it is right to just jump into automated testing without going through manual testing first.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you for that contribution. Brilliant contribution, Raymond. Does anybody have any contrary opinion on anything to add on this? So talking about automation testing, automation means using tools or scripts, right, to actually perform your test. So rather than doing manually, you're automating it using tools, using software, using scripts. Do we agree? Do we understand that explanation? Have we automated anything? Does anybody have anything they've automated before? Any task you've automated before? Any other?
Yes.
Yeah?
Google bad AI.
What?
Google bad AI. Google bad AI.
Bad AI, okay, yeah. Yeah, so
it's
what did you do?
Well, the requirement from Google was for us to use the AI and give them feedback. In fact, the feedback is automated. As you're using it, they're taking record of what you're using and the answers it produces. That was my own role. I was not to check any code. They just sent me the link and said I should use the AI to generate answers to whatever I want. But there's a privacy policy there that whatever you're doing, they're taking record of it and the output.
So would you say that is automation?
Yes, from the definition, types of automation, black stuff automation, the first kind of automation where you test the user experience without going through the codes.
No, that's not automation. Black box technique. You wanted to talk about black box technique, right?
Yes.
Not automation. That is still manual. It is still manual.
Okay.
Do we understand what repetitive tasks mean? Does anybody understand what repetitive tasks mean?
I don't know.
When
sorry.
they say something is repetitive, does anybody know what that means? Raymond? Raymond, you're muted.
Yeah, when we say something is repetitive, it's the ability for the thing to it's like loop. It's like a looping ability for the tags to carry on doing the same thing. Ability for a software, let me use the software now, to continue doing the same thing on and on.
So is there anything you do? Can you give me an example of something you do repeatedly?
That is on loop. All right, I sleep repeatedly, I eat repeatedly, and I can send email and program it to send every 2 hours. That is like automating the mail send probably
So exactly. So you send RAM repeatedly, right? And you're saying that you can automate.
Yes, sir.
So when you automate your email sending, do you have to do anything once you've automated?
So no, I don't need to do anything. The manual, the initial thing is to do it manually, right? Automate it, and since it's automated, it will keep doing, it will keep carrying on the same tasks till I end it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So automation basically is always, and this is. Sorry, can we mute when we're talking?
TVs here, they have DSTV. Watch
Can we mute when we're not speaking, please? So when we talk about automation, automation is only useful, when we have actually done something manually first, like when we have a good understanding of a manual process of doing something. For example, Raymond said, he has automated email sending. But then before he can automate email sending, he has done that email sending repeatedly, manually, severally, right? He must have done it severally, manually. So as Raymond said, when it comes to automation testing, you need to have already done manual testing. You need to have tested the application manually first before you can now automate it. And automation in this case means that you're using tools, as I mentioned, tools or scripts to actually perform the test. So you're not doing manually anymore. You're doing it using tools, and we have several tools for automation. Selenium is one of them. Catalog is another one. Cypress, Appium, there are a couple of different automation tools for our testing. But you must have fully tested it manually before you can automate. You cannot automate something you don't understand. You've not tested manually first. Does not make sense. You will not even know what to automate, because you need to know the behavior of the system when you test it manually first before you try to automate it. So the first step is always to test application manually. Automation cannot replace manual testing. The benefit of manual testing is to reduce the time to testing manually. For example, if you have 100 test cases to execute manually, if you do it the first time, you do it the second time, the third time, it becomes a bit boring. So to speed up the process, you automate the test, but you must have done it at least once manually, found the issues, then you automate it so that you don't repeat the test. So that is it. Do you understand why, automation is not a replacement for manual test? Do you understand why it's not a replacement and it's not used for all the tests that are difficult to do manually? Do you understand? So always know that the first step is to test manually, and then you can now automate your test. All right. So let's talk about some of the objectives of testing. Right? And we've discussed some of these prior. So can any of you share what you think? What are some of the objectives of testing? Contribution, please. What are the objectives of testing? Was
To
it
detect defects and
to
error.
detect exactly
Defects
correct? And what are defects? Was that yeah, Doris? What are defects?
virus and things that can stop the application not to perform and not to function properly.
Yes, it's not just virus, it's just anything that does not allow your application to function as expected. Yeah, it's also known as bugs.
See them. Now the group. I tell you.
Let's mute, please. Thank you. Another objective of testing. Somebody? Moses?
It's merely to prevent the company from being sanctioned
Yeah,
by already established standards. Because if you don't do the
yeah,
testing, you might not
compliance.
know if it's violating a particular, yes, for compliance purposes and to save costs at
Yeah.
the early stage.
So what Moses is saying is it can be regulatory. So imagine that you open a website like your mobile bank application and you're seeing illicit content there. Can that company be fined?
Yes.
Right? Absolutely. Company can be fined. So that is you breaching regulations because you're not supposed to have those type of content on a mobile bank application. Right? Adeze, do you wanted to add something?
To ensure that the application doesn't result any failures before reaching the end.
Yeah, to prevent failures, bugs, to make sure that your customers are not frustrated, the end users, right? Anolu Akpo, thank you, Adeze.
To reduce costs.
To reduce cost, explain.
So if testing is not done properly
Yeah,
and the application go live,
yeah.
it will be additional costs to revert that
Mhm.
because it must have caused a lot of damage at the part of
Yeah,
the end user and to the company as well.
yeah.
Maybe if there is a bug that is giving more information about the company that is not supposed to be public, that information can be used against the company.
Mm.
Those are the errors. So it will cost them more.
Absolutely. Thank you for that amazing contribution. So can it cause reputational damage for the company as well?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, right? Absolutely.
Additional damage.
How many of you have used a financial app or mobile bank application and you were frustrated before and you vow not to use the app again? We all have, Abby. This
Yeah,
thing debited me twice. This GT Bank. Some of you go to Twitter as well and
I thought
and drag
GT
bank.
GT
I'm not
just
sorry,
fixed,
I'm not supposed to mention any name. I'm just giving an example. Yeah, it happens to most of the banks. So the crux of the matter is that it can cause reputational damage, right? What else? Can it cause customer dissatisfaction? Can it? Customer dissatisfaction.
Yes, you
Yes,
can.
yes, it can.
Absolutely.
Very
Yeah.
well.
Right. What other thing?
And
One of to ensure that the quality, like a good quality product is being deployed.
Absolutely.
Like the product is of
Quality.
good quality.
So what does quality mean to you?
Well, it means something authentic, something
Hmm.
of good value.
Of good value. Great. Great. So you see, all these things are some of the reasons why testing is very vital, right? So for example, just imagine somebody was in a plane and the emergency landing software of the plane is not working and there's an emergency. What happens? Do we panic? Is there panic if you're in that plane? God forbid. Are you going to panic?
Most definitely.
Definitely, right? So it's important for you to know that if test is not done correctly, it can lead to death, can lead to financial loss. There's so many impacts. We'll talk about that. But, just put it at the back of your mind. The objective of testing, prevent defects, right? Defects, failure, bugs, same thing. We are testing to prevent these things, right? We want to verify that our application or software, they meet requirements. So before the project starts, there's an agreed requirement, right? There's a scope that must have been agreed. Remember when I said your WhatsApp should not have things like calculator, right? Or any application, there's always a scope of what needs to be built, the requirement, the function of the application, and the scope. So you as a tester, you're not just testing for bug alone. You're not just a tester even, you're a quality assurance engineer or analyst. So you're not just testing for bug alone. You're also testing that, the organization, the stakeholder, they get value out of a project. And that means that the requirement that they've agreed, the scope of the project is also met. The application is behaving as it should, right? So those are some of the things that you do as quality assurance tester. You also help to what? To build confidence in the quality. Somebody said quality means authenticity. Somebody also said quality means what? What's the other thing? Quality means there's value. We all know what value means to us. So if a project is supposed to implement an app, a food ordering app, supposed to allow users to order food, track their food, make payment online. If at the end of the project, the app can only allow people order food and track the food, but cannot make payment online, is that quality? Is that
No,
quality, guys?
No.
No, why? Why is it
The,
not
because
quality?
it doesn't meet the requirement,
Doesn't
like
meet
what
the
is
requirement.
expected.
And what requirement is missing?
Payment, making
payment.
payment.
Payment. Payment. Brilliant. And does that build confidence in the quality at the end?
No.
Will your stakeholders be
No,
happy? Like, yeah, we have a good software.
No.
No, they would not. And if we are a company, like 0 to Hero, we build software as well. If we were the company building the software and we have missed this critical requirement for payment, have we met the contractual agreement?
No,
Have we met
No.
contractual agreement for our client?
no,
Huh?
No, we
no,
haven't.
No. Will our client pay us in full?
No.
No. So you see how all these things tie together. And imagine that, again, on that food ordering now, there's a betting, some of you play bet, right? There's a betting feature there. Is that compliant?
No.
Would that be compliant?
No,
Stake your food
No.
for
no.
money.
You see, this man must be playing bet. This CK man must be a betting man. Just kidding. So that won't be meeting the regulatory or compliance requirement, right? So can I assume that we all understand the objective of testing? At least you can mention 2, 3 in your own words. You understand.
So I have a
Important.
question.
Yeah, ask me.
In the situation that the all requirements are met, but there is this one error. Can we classify this as a bug when we are building an app? Okay, let's say developer develop an app for
Okay.
Nigeria, and the payment 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 platform is calculated in euro, which we know that it is very difficult for the majority to relate to that, like the conversion and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
You understand? So I'm just asking, which class can we categorize that kind of bug to?
So
Is it
if it's
just a normal
supposed to,
defect, or is not meeting a standard?
it's a the combination. It's not meeting the requirement. The requirement must have said, of course, this is Nigeria, so Naira should be the currency, right? So now it's you that is implemented. It's a bug, right? And it's also not meeting the requirement. But if you want to classify it, you classify it as a bug. So you have to raise a defect or a bug for this so that they can fix that issue, right? Do you understand?
I do understand.
Any other question? All right, just to round this up, some of the other objectives we've also touched on it is to find defect and failure in application, is to validate that the test object or application works as the stakeholder expect. Pretty much what we just said. The application must work as the stakeholder or the business or the company wants. Yeah. To provide sufficient information to stakeholders to allow them make informed decisions. Right. So as a tester as well, there are some reports that you'll be generating, right? Your test summary report, your test execution report. So those are the documents that will give your stakeholder confidence on your test to say, okay, we can go live with this application, or no, we can't go live with this application until we fix, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bug. Any other question?
Yeah, so I wanted to ask, these slides, are we going to get them at the end of the class?
Yeah, absolutely. You get the slide.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other question? Do we understand? If I ask you tomorrow, Do you explain in full? Some other objective of testing. Let's just talk about it very briefly. So depending on the system being tested, the test level, right? So at what level are we testing? Or the software development lifecycle. Does anybody know what software development lifecycle is? I have some computer science students here. Do we know what SDLC is? God's will?
Okay, yes, sir. Software development life cycle. This is like the stages you pass through um, to get to the full building of the software. To be able to build a software, there are different stages you pass through. So you go through each stage to be able to attain to a final product, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, thank you. So who can mention the stages? Ezekiel, do you want to mention the stage?
Yeah, these I just want to add like it's end-to-end process of development, like from project from designer.
Can you see me?
Hello.
Yeah, I can
Hello?
hear you.
From designer to developer to tester and to production.
Yeah, you tried, good attend. Before design, what happened? Did we just jump straight to design?
Requirement.
I think there's the planning.
Something before requirement.
There's planning.
Planning.
You have to planning, requirement and gathering. We have design. We have software development. We have test, and we have implementation and deployment. And the last is maintenance.
Yeah. So what we are saying here is. Who's talking? Okay, is it Anu? Anu? Was Anu talking? Was somebody talking?
Yes, I wanted to say about that life cycle.
Okay, yeah.
Like the introduction of the application to the last stage when it's not functioning.
I'm really struggling. Don't worry, we'll hear your thoughts later. Can't hear you now. Yeah, but what we're saying in essence is as we go through the different software development life cycle, at every stage there are different type of tests that we can do, right? So the kind of test we can do at the requirements gathering stage is different from the type of test we do at development stage. It's also different from the one we do, during deployment as well, or pre-deployment. So during the component testing, Patrick, you have a question?
Yes, sir, I do. Sorry to drag you back. Based on the life cycles that were just mentioned, how do we, should I see, categorize them in terms of the validation cycle and verification cycle?
We'll talk about that in chapter 2. So there's the testing throughout software development lifecycle, where we'll talk about the verification and validation. So we'll talk about that in more detail then. Yeah?
Okay. Thank you.
Cool. So during component testing, does anybody know what component testing is? Have you heard of component testing before? Or what is a component or module? Have you heard of module components?
From my own little understanding from React,
Yeah.
I think component is just a little part of the codes. Maybe
Yeah.
it's actually representative of a function, just like a block of codes that
Yeah.
perform a particular task.
That's lovely.
So we can
Thank
combine
you.
different components, achieve the whole application goal
Yeah.
or task.
Thank you so much, Ezekiel. You've
Thank you so much,
actually
Ezekiel.
answered. Yes. Raymond, what to add to that?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. What I know a module to be is a written code that works that perform a particular function, like in the bank app now or a software. If you can write a code or import a module for payment gateway. So
Yeah.
testing, that is module testing. Module testing now, that means you'll be going from one function of the software to another. So you test for this functionality to another functionality to the next, and you do that for all functions of the particular software or application.
Thank you so much, Raymond. Thank you, Ezekiel, as well. Brilliant contribution. Component is just like a written, code to perform a function. In simple terms, like login. Login can be a component. Sign up can be a component. At least you all will be familiar with login because you've logged into so many applications. Sign up, same thing. You're familiar with sign up, right? Those can be component or modules of an application. And what we are saying here is that, when you just start development, depending on the type of software development lifecycle we are using, if you're just developing the component, say like just login, your objective at that point might be just to find as much bug or defect as possible on that login component or login module alone. So you just want to test that login to be sure the login works fine. So that application is just the login that is ready. Right? We just want to find any issue, that can affect the login. And then the next one can be sign up. When the develop sign up, you're focusing on that component, sign up, finding as much bug, defect as possible. So that is component testing. The mindset during component testing is to find as much bug or defect as possible. Because it's just a small part, it's just a tiny part of the application. As I said, login is a component, sign up is a component, order food component, track your food component. So there are different components that are integrated together that makes up an application. And that's why you see that you have to sign up before you can log in, right? So they work together. It is when they are integrated, they work together. Do you understand what component testing is? Does anybody have
Yes,
any
sir.
question on component testing? So the idea, the mindset is to find as many bugs, failures, defects as possible on that component. During your acceptance testing, has anybody heard of acceptance testing? Do you know what that means? User acceptance testing, UAT. Raymond. Raymond, go for it.
I think is the testing done at the end user site, like at the end
Yeah.
user system, where the product owner tests the functionality and the of the application, like to know maybe it's working according to their requirement specification, and it's done at the customer.
So is it the components we test? Is it components we
I think
test
we
at that?
just no. I think they will test. I think some important fixtures, like it may be it may be general, it may be the front end or the back end. Like what I mean by the back end is maybe the database testing and the how the application works. They just do a kind of smoke testing. I think just some test some verify of the application to see if it's functioning well.
Thank you, Adiremi. Good attempt. Adaize, you want to add to that?
The question is asked.
Yeah, no.
Oh, you Raymond that's talking. Okay, Adaize, go on.
Yeah, I'd like to ask, what's the difference between component testing and unit testing?
Yeah, they're quite good question. They're quite similar. But component testing is focused on, you know what I explained about black box testing, where you don't really worry yourself about the internal workings of the code. So like I said, you can just test the login, for example. How would you test login in component testing? They can just give you, maybe the front end is even ready for login. You just go to login page, enter your email or username and password, see how it works, try forgot password, all of those things, right? But when it comes to unit testing is a type of white box testing. So it has to do with the internal workings of the code. So developers write unit tests. I'll show you a sample unit test when we get to chapter 4 or 5. So it's a code. You as a tester, except you have a technical background like you develop, you won't be writing unit test. Is that clear? That is it.
So your voice was breaking. I didn't hear anything you said.
Oh, you didn't hear me? Did anybody hear me?
Network was very bad. I could not hear it.
Can anybody hear me?
Yeah,
I can hear,
hear
yes,
you.
I can hear you loud and clear.
We can hear you.
Okay, I was just worried. I thought nobody could hear me. Yeah, Adaize, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Right. So I would explain again. So you asked difference between component testing and unit testing, right? So I was saying that component test is a type of black box test technique that focus on, the application. Like it doesn't really focus on the internal structure of the code. So component testing, for example, because we are dealing with component here, which is like one small part of the application performing something, a function like login, for example. For you to do a component test on login, it is possible that the front end is ready. So you just pop in a couple of, use your email, password, click login, see how it works. That's how you go through component test for a login feature, for example. But if you want to write a unit test, it is not going to be that approach to write unit test. It will be code, because unit test is a type of white box test technique. Do you understand? And I said it's developers that write unit test. So they write it in their code. Is that clear? Hopefully you heard me.
Yes, sir.
This time.
It's clear.
Otherwise, I didn't hear from you.
Sir, it's clear.
Just to show you. Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Yes.
This is like, I don't want to jump the gun, but this is a type of unit test, kind of. You see that is code-like, right? This is a statement testing approach. And like I said, it is done by a developer. You don't write your own test case as a tester like this. Just wanted to show you quickly. But let's move on. Need to move on quickly. So yeah, we're talking about acceptance testing, and the way you look at acceptance testing or user acceptance testing, this is done when the application is at the system level. So we are not talking about components now. We are talking about a full system. A full system means the system is ready. It has all the features already integrated. You have your sign up, login, all the function of the system, right? So what would happen at this point? The focus here is that we want to confirm that the system works as expected and satisfies requirement. You see the mindset here. Requirement is key. Remember all the things we talked about, why we test. It's not just to find defect. So at this stage, the users, prospective users, people that will be using the application, internal stakeholders, your BA, your business analyst, your product owner, they might be involved in this user acceptance testing. So they'll be testing, is this system working as it should? Are all the requirements that we said we should implement, are they there? Remember the example of the payment of the food ordering application I gave, and the payment is missing. It's during this user acceptance test, they'll be checking, oh, is payment there? Yes, no. Then if it's not there, it has failed UAT. So it cannot go live. They have to work on the payment feature. Is that clear, guys? All right, so let's talk about testing and debugging, right? We've talked extensively about what testing is. So let's talk about debugging. Any idea? Does anybody understand what debugging means? What does debugging mean? Yeah, Godswin.
Debugging is the process of correcting bugs, taking out bugs from an application or a software.
Ah, absolutely. Spot on. Spot on. Favor, you want to add to that? Because we said process of taking out bugs from application, which I like a lot. Favor? I thought Favor wanted to say something.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, it's the same thing I was talking about fixing those bugs which tester detected
Yeah,
first.
absolutely. Thank you very much. So testing and debugging are a very critical part of software development, right? So you will test and find bug. The developer, you send it to developer. Developer has to analyze, investigate the bug to find the root cause. What's causing this bug? Why is this bug happening? Right? And then when they find the bug, they can now try to fix it. Yeah? So it's not just, a fancy name. I like God's real explanations of removing the bugs, process of removing the bug of the application. But before you can remove bug, you have to analyze it. What is the root cause? What is happening? Where is this issue coming from? What part of this application is affected? All those things must be done before you can find and fix the bug. Who typically does debugging? Who does debugging?
Developers.
A developer.
Developers. Developers are responsible for debugging. Yeah? But you as testers, you can actually analyze, investigate some root cause of some bugs as well. So testing can show failures that are caused by default in software. And we know that testers are responsible to find these defects or failures, while debugging has to do with what? Analyzing and fixing the defect. Is that clear, guys? Any question? All right. I think we've also talked about this. And somebody mentioned that testing saves time and money. Somebody explained this earlier. That testing, so we're talking about why testing is necessary. So let me ask you a question, guys. If a new aircraft is developed today, and they've told you this is a new aircraft, never flown before, this is the first time we would be flying this aircraft, and we need just 2 people, to fly as a test flight of this aircraft. Would you guys volunteer? Let me see. Will any of you volunteer?
Yes.
Who said yes?
No, I will not. I will not
Let me
volunteer.
Why not? Why not?
Before it will be corrected, I've already gone.
Sorry said no. Somebody said yes. I'm curious.
It's Moses. Moses said yes.
Moses, tell us. What's your reason?
Yes, it's a new aircraft. and
Yeah.
definitely it's not the first that company is producing. So I
No,
guess
no. I said it's a new. Okay, let me be clear. It's a new aircraft, first
okay.
one of its kind, never flown before. Yeah,
I
they
will
want
test
to.
it. One, I'm going to be paid for testing it, not free.
No. Okay,
Secondly,
yeah, yeah.
secondly is that I will test it based on the condition that the safety equipment is already they've equipped me in case of emergency and there's a fault. I can easily I have a 50-50 chance of survival. You know.
Mm,
So first I'll be paid. Secondly, there are safety gadgets already on me that I can easily escape in case of anything. Yes.
that's good. That's good. I like that. Who else is with
What if there
Moses?
is nothing to do there safety gadget? Will you still do it? Hmm. No safety, nothing. You are the one
Yeah.
they use to. Oh,
Okay. Yeah. Good contribution, guys.
Okay, for me.
So, what I'm just trying to say here is testing is very necessary. Even aircraft, when they develop aircraft, they have to go on a test flight, with professionals. They have testers as well, pilots, they go on test run just to ensure what safety. They have to do all these things by law to fulfill legal requirements. It's also industry specific standard to help what reduce risk of failures during operation. Do you understand? Just imagine we got to an airport, we wanted to board an airplane, and the pilot is announcing that, welcome on board, this is the first time we'll be flying this, we are not very sure what to expect, there is 50-50 risk of whatever. Everybody will turn back, I'm sure, So that is why testing is important. You must have tested the aircraft many times, gone on many hours of test flight before they put it into operation. Because why? Any failures can lead to death. Right? So it's very important that, we test. So some of the reasons why testing is necessary is to ensure that software meets its requirement. We've talked about this many times. Reducing risk. I've given example of aircraft. That's very high risk industry. So to help reduce the risk, they go through test flights, just to be sure that everything is fine. Does anybody have any other example of how testing would help reduce risk? Any example?
I have an
Come on.
example.
Yeah, tell me.
Some of these banking applications that, like, I happen
Yeah.
to in the bank, and there is this place that there is an app we call Finac with Finco. That is where you can do most of the things. You can use it and pay money and all the rest. For service officer, you use it and do other maintenance. So before they can actually launch this, if they do it without texting anything, and then you now launch it and they use it to do people's transaction, like there will be so many damages, loss of funds and all that. So it needs rigorous testing before being launched out. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Doris, for that example. There are many applications all applications basically, you need to do rigorous testing to be sure that there's no risk, or at least reduce the risk, the critical risk. that can lead to, again, we've talked about reputational damage, talk about financial loss, talk about, the legal implication. So it's important that you test, right? There have been many high-profile cases where sufficient testing were not done and there were severe impact, right? So in the 1980s, there's a story about Terac 25 radiation machine. It's a therapy machine that's supposed to help people, that are going through therapy. And because of an error, the machine was giving patient overdose of radiation that led to their death, and in some cases injuries. And this was because, sufficient testing was not done. And that led to many people dying. So there are many, 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 instances where lack of testing has been severe. Again, testing helps to save time and money, right? When we identify defect early enough in the development process, we save time, we save money. Remember, we talked about the software development lifecycle. So let me ask, if you found a bug at the requirement stage, right? Maybe incorrect requirement or something like that, versus if you find a bug during testing stage, when the application is like ready and during testing, which one would be more expensive to fix?
I think it should be during testing. That will be more expensive to fix.
Exactly. Why? Shouldn't have said that. Why?
Because
Yeah.
because by that time, both the developer, the these guys, some people that define the graphic. So many works will have been done because it's about testing should be about the 6th stage. So from stage 1 to stage 4, from stage 1 to stage 5, I think people have already do the work, which should have cost time and money. But if the bug was fixed from the phase 1, which is the planning or requirement gathering, it will be less. Even work will not be done. They have created before starting the process.
Oh, thank you. Brilliant. Thank you so much. Well, guys, you are breaking my rules. You're not turning on your camera. We agreed, guys.
We are trying to relocate where we are studying, so that's why we turn off our camera so we can settle down.
Oh, okay.
They change our location. Yeah.
All right, no worries. Thank you so much. That was Aderemi, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I love this class. You guys are great. So yeah, it's more expensive to fix during testing because, as he said, we've gone through requirement gathering phase, we've spent money, we've called all the stakeholders, we've talked about the requirement, then we've gone to design, we paid the product designer like Eniola before. Yeah, we've paid some design software developer as well, like Raymond and Co. Huh? And then we get to testing. We are paying all of you here to test. Then we are finding issues. But contrast it to, we are just requirement stage and we found defect to requirement. You can find defect to requirement And you will learn about that in chapter 3, static testing. You see, stage 1, for example, requirement gathering, found some incorrect requirements, defect in some requirement. At that stage, it's not very expensive to fix because it's early in the development stage, and we've not gone through the design development phase, so it's easier to fix. So we would have saved money if we catch the bug early. Do we all understand?
Sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. Is there a question? No question. Okay. Okay, let's talk about how testing contributes to success. Right? Already we've talked about in several ways that testing contributes to success, because again, we've established that software by its nature has defects, and we've established that your work as a quality assurance analyst or engineer is not just to find defects. It's to what? Satisfy requirement, find defect, reduce risk, prevent failures, instill confidence in your customer, your stakeholders, save time, save cost. So it is common to see software product that is deployed to production, and because of defects, is not meeting stakeholder needs, right? For example, I think somebody asked, if we were developing a website or something for Nigeria, it's supposed to be implemented in Naira, and now it's implemented in Euro. In that case, Nigerians will not be able to use. That's a bug, right? That means that we've not met the stakeholders' need. Until that bug is fixed, which again we have to pay to fix that bug, because developer will work on it. Yeah. So until that bug is fixed, we cannot meet the stakeholders' need. Stakeholders will not be happy. So testing helps to detect all these issues, possibly ensure that they are fixed in time so that our stakeholders are happy. Right? And when we test with the appropriate test technique, we can reduce the frequency of these defects or bugs. Remember, we said that we cannot totally eliminate bug 100%. It does not exist. It simply does not exist. So we can ensure, we can try using all our techniques, we can try to ensure that the bugs, the critical bugs, are identified and then, fixed. The critical bugs are always obvious because, again, they are critical. So their impact are always severe. So you would always most likely catch all those critical bugs if you apply the correct techniques and skills. So some of the consideration here is having testers involved in the requirement reviews, user story refinement could detect defects in this work. So what we are saying here is pretty much involving testers early enough in the software development lifecycle, like we said, during refinement, during requirement gathering session. When you are talking about what you want to build, remember we said software are what? set of instructions to perform a function. That instruction, before you can give it instruction, you need to know what is required. What do you want this application to do? And those are your requirements, right? So it's during this session, requirement reviews, user story refinement, all of those meetings that you discuss. Oh, we want this application to have a payment gateway. We want this application to return real-time rate. We want this application to be able to. Can we mute? Thank you. So again, before things go out of hand, we can quickly find defects. If the requirement is wrong, we can call that out quickly before we go and implement something that is requirement that is defective, and then we have a defective product or software. Another consideration is having tester work closely with both system designer, your developer, another core development team at the early stage could help identify defects. It's still closely related to what we are saying. You need to make sure that you as tester, you're working closely with your development team, the developers, the designer, the product owner, business analyst, scrum master, stakeholders, everybody. You're collaborating with them. You're bringing your test perspective. Yeah. That way, if something is going amiss, you can quickly catch it early enough. So the last one here, having tester verify and validate the software or product prior to release can help detect failures. Does anybody know what verification means? What does verification mean? Yeah.
As being sure that this thing is actually very good. Like to be too sure, absolutely sure. That is verification. Verify to be
sure. I didn't quite catch. I didn't quite catch what was that, Doris?
Yes.
What did you say again? Can you come again, please?
The question was, what is verification, right?
Yes, yes.
And I say, is finding out too sure, like to be absolutely sure that this thing is what it is. You understand?
Yeah. They are building what is right. Yes, absolutely. Is performing as expected. Thank you. Ayomide, you want to add to that?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so verification is confirmation by examination. Like you examine whatever it is you're verifying. You examine it with let's say objective evidence. Like you have an evidence that okay, this thing does what it is supposed to do. And before then, the requirement must have been specified. So you know exactly where you know the criteria you are verifying for. That was what I wanted to add.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you. Like the technical. Adaise, you want to add to that?
Verification means confirm that the further development Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Verification means trying to confirm that the product development is taking place according to the specification requirements using standard procedures.
Absolutely correct. According to the specified or the specification. So we're verifying. Oh, we said this application should allow you convert from Naira to USD, right? It's there in your specification or your requirement document. You're verifying that, oh, does this application allow you to convert from Naira to USD? Yeah. So you're just verifying that the application works as intended. Any question on this? What about validation? I think somebody asked about this as well. Validation.
So I would say that validation validation in the sense is also like you're evaluating if that like if a particular product if it meets the user need, if it meets the not the user need and also this sorry, if it meets the user needs and also the stakeholder needs.
Yeah. Pretty much like, are we building the right product? Yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you, guys. We need to move more quickly now. So validation is, are we building the right product? If you don't build the right product, even if you have the right design and everything, users will not use it. So pretty much waste of time. All right. Quality assurance. Again, we've gone through this, but just for you to know, sorry, China Gulam, do you want to add to this or you have a question?
I have a question. I have a question.
Okay, yeah.
From the previous slide, there is this sketch, DevOps. I don't know. I don't know if you have explained it. Yes. This DevOps, this sketch. Can you please explain?
Yeah, so I'll just quickly glance through this. So DevOps is, Dev means development and operations. So this is just the process of making sure that what we build, we can also operationalize it. So from this stage, we build it, which involves coding. We build. So it's like it's a continuous loop. So we plan, we code, we build, we test, we release, we deploy, we operate, we monitor. We do another part of it, like it's a kind of like continuous integration, continuous delivery. That's more advanced concept that you will learn. That's another course on its own. But what you need to know is that we want to continuously release product to our customer. We want to continuously release updates, right? So we will plan part of the work. We will code it, build it, test it, release, deploy, operate, monitor how it's faring, then plan more work, add to the code, build more, test more, release, deploy, operate, monitor how it's doing. Then we go through the step again. So dev means development and operation. How are we going to develop and operationalize this product continuously? Yeah. So let's move quickly. So quality assurance and testing, pretty much we've overflowed this as well, but it's a process of ensuring that a product or service meets the required quality standard. So we know that this is the whole essence of developing a software. It must meet quality standard. And all these things encompassing on the fact that, of course, less bugs. We don't have critical bugs, right? Quality standard, it meets requirement, it satisfies the user requirement, all of that, and the stakeholders are happy. Yeah. So in software development terms, quality assurance refers to the set of activities and processes that are put in place to ensure that the software product meets the desired level of quality. And we know that quality means different things, depend on the project. So quality can be what value this product must meet all the requirements that we've defined that this product should meet. Yeah. I will not talk about testing. We've talked about what testing is extensively. And quality management is another key term you need to know. And it's just like managing the process of, ensuring quality. So it includes all the activities that direct and control an organization with regards to quality. So basically, it's about how an organization manages and controls, their quality standard. So every organization, we have how they want to test, what type of methodology, how do you even start your test, what are the test artifacts, and what's your test case template, your test your test basis, all of those things. They have a standard that falls under quality management. Anything that you don't manage and control, there's tendency for it to go in different ways that you would not like. Because even though we are 20 testers here, we will not all behave the same way. We will not all test the same way. So if we all work in an organization, there has to be quality standard that must be our guiding principle, so that the quality of our work will not be zigzag. You do this one, that one does this, Again, the control part involves the various activities that support achievement of appropriate levels of quality. So like I said, you have to control your testing as well, because again, we all have our own approach of doing things. But we need to, and as an organization, the organization will have laid down principles about how testing should be done. What type of testing do we do here? Are we running an agile, software development model? So is our test cases on Excel, or we were using Zephyr or Jira? Are we supposed to add test evidence per user story or by requirement? All of those things will be laid down, and it depends from organization to organization. It's about control. Anything you don't control, again, you're calling for trouble, because different testers with different trainings would be coming through the organization. It is that management and control that would help keep your quality levels up. Do we all understand? Moving
Yes,
on.
sir. Yes, we are.
So what are errors? Let's talk about errors. What are errors?
So
Errors
I
are
understand error to mistake in coding.
Yeah, mistake. Who makes that mistake?
The developer.
Developer or anybody writing the code. So there are mistakes, there are human inefficiencies, right? That can happen. We all make errors, we all make mistakes. Not even in code alone, even in writing, in your work, your daily life, you can make mistakes. That's what makes us human. So the developer, somebody was asking me as well, why are there bugs in some application? This is also one of the issues. Developer can make mistakes, they are human as well, right? So what would this mistake cause, or this error? It can lead to defect. The error will lead to defect, right, in the software. Because if developer makes mistake, of course, the consequence of that is that there will be defect in the application, correct?
Yes.
Yes or no? Yes, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And when we execute those code, it will lead to failure. Failure is when the product does not work as it should. So why does error happen? And again, tying to the fact that some defects, you might not find them, as we've been saying. Some defects require specific input or precondition to trigger failures, right? They might be rare, but they might never happen. So it might just be one edge case, something very weird that will trigger that failure. Can test application and feel hard, okay, no issues, no, but you don't know. You can test as a tester, and somebody will just put SQL injection. Somebody might put, today, you might not normally go to an application and genuinely in your, excuse me, in your email, say you want to log into an application, in your email field, you might not put, it equals to, and then type your email. You might not do that. It might happen by mistake, but you might not do that. But that might be something that will break the system. And it can be SQL injection. You can check what SQL injection means later. So just letting you know that some errors or defects require specific input. It can be symbol, it can be SQL injection, it can be different condition, right, that will just trigger. So for example, we are all aware about Black Friday, right? Many years ago, Jumia and Konga, they were doing Black Friday, and of course, they put the deals midnight, specific time in the midnight. Many people are interested. There's more traffic on the website. Even people that are not shopping, but when they hear iPhone will sell for 12K, everybody will wake up. They want to log in and buy free awoof. Eh? So all these websites then, they didn't prepare for the number of traffic. They're like seeing like 1 million requests per minute, because they will put it 12 a.m. Awoof, iPhone 12K, that kind of thing. So the website will see more traffic than usual at that period. And then what happens? System goes blank, crashes. You as tester, You might not do performance test to test 1 million user per minute. You might not do that. You will likely not even do that. I'm just trying to explain that sometimes it's some weird input that will cause error that you've not even, you'll be wondering like, how did this even happen? But more generally, what causes error are things like time pressure on the development team. This must go live. This system must go live in 1 month. This system must go live next week. Let's rush testing. Let's finish the application. Then we make mistake. Human fallibility. As we've said, we are humans, we make mistake. Yeah. When we are not familiar with technology, we make mistake. Causes error. Complexity of the code design. Yeah. Miscommunication between project participants. All these things, they cause error or failures in the system. Again, defect, their root causes and effect, right? So I've already mentioned that software defects are also known as bugs, errors, failures, right? And they are flaws in our software that cause them to behave unexpectedly or incorrectly. So they just make our application fail. So when you hear defect, bugs, errors, it means that this system is not working well. We've all experienced it before. And you need to know that they can occur at any stage of the development process, from design to implementation to testing to deployment. Any question on this? Takeaway, defects can occur at any stage. Design, implementation, even requirement gathering. Right? And they are what? They are also known as bugs, errors, flaws, failures. They just cause your software to fail and not work correctly. Any questions so far? So defects can be analyzed to identify their root causes so that we can reduce. Remember, when we're talking about debugging, so when a defect happens, what happens next? What does developer do? They debug, which means they are trying to find the root cause, right? So when they try to find the root cause, they analyze, right? They analyze, what's causing this defect? Where is this defect happening? Yeah. And we know that the effect of defect can result in loss of revenue or trust from our client or stakeholder. The effect is that our customers are not happy. We've all been in situations where you're trying to send money to someone, you get debited, ATM. Yes, no? We've not had bad experience with ATM before. Who has not had bad experience with ATM before?
Yes.
Huh? Somebody? Right. When you have bad experience with ATM, what do you do? Do you complain? Yeah.
Yes.
That's
Yeah, I
what you
shout at
generally
them.
do. You shout, right? So we will just talk about, we finish up on software testing principle today, and we'll continue tomorrow. We continue from test process tomorrow. So talking about software testing principle, how many of you have heard of this principle before? How many of you have heard about the testing principle? Nobody? Okay, Abdul Malik.
Yes, I have, sir.
So can you explain the first one? Testing shows the presence of defects and not their absence. I think we've talked about this before.
Yeah. All right. So what I understand by that is that you are not testing to show that there are no defects. You are testing to find the bug. You are not a tester, and you are testing and everything is passing. That means you are not working yet, just like they used to say. That means you are not working yet. You are able to find out the bugs. Then you are working.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Thank you. So we test to find defect or bugs. It's one of the reasons why we test. It's not everything. It's one of the reasons. Please, you need to know these principles are very important. There are 7. And these are the guiding principles that you need to know as testers. This needs to guide you. This has to be like your Bible. You need to be able to understand them, say it, at any time. You're testing to show that they are defects, they are bugs, not that there are no bugs. Yeah. The second one, exhaustive testing is impossible. Leonard, hands up.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
Hello.
you.
Yeah, so I'm just curious. Is it possible that there can be test cases where the person couldn't find a bug? Is it possible?
In the whole application.
Yes, is it possible? Can that ever happen?
Yeah, you have not found it. That means you're saying that the system is perfect.
Yeah.
No,
Systematically.
there's no perfect system. So you need to look more. You need to apply all your tests. Your testing.
So the person must find a bug.
So it's not about the person must find a bug, right? So there's no way you're a tester working on a project development or an application. You've written test cases and everything. You apply your test techniques. You will not find any bug in the whole project. Not possible. Never seen that before. There's no way you'll find plenty bugs. Except you're talking about applications that are already live. Even applications that are already live, we find bugs. Facebook has come to Nigeria before to come and find testers to test Facebook. Facebook is live. Facebook came to Nigeria. And why? Do they not have testers in there? They wanted to do a special type of test. Localized testing. Facebook, we were testing live Facebook and finding bug. In 2018, I attended an hackathon. Sorry, testathon. We call it testathon. Do you know what a testathon is? Does anybody know what a testathon is?
Yes, basically testing for a competition test for reward. Like at the end of the day, somebody goes on with an award or a reward.
Yeah.
But it's a competition actually.
Exactly. Thank you for that. The competition, bug finding competition. The application was Facebook. I was runner up at second, right? So I found the second most important bug in the competition of so many people. I can't remember, maybe 100 or something. So what I'm saying is that is an application that is already live, that is used by billions of people in the world, all over the world. Talk less of a project that you're just building. There's no way you will not find bug. It's not possible. Is that clear?
100%.
Yeah, cool. So exhaustive testing is impossible. Does anybody have an idea?
Yes. So what I understand about that is there's no stop to testing. You should do it as much as you can. There is no limit to what you can test. Like you can do it as much as you can, just to identify errors or bugs.
Good attempt. Good attempt. Zuka?
I was also going to say that testing is a continuous process. It never stops. As far as you want to keep up with the standard or quality requirements, so you just have to keep testing.
Yeah, good attempt. Good attempt. Raymond?
Yeah, exhaustive testing is impossible. I believe it means you cannot test everything. You can't beat your chest and say you've tested everything. You mentioned that some errors requires very specific inputs or preconditions to trigger stuff like that. It's rare for a tester to test for things like that. So I believe what it means is that no tester can test every single thing. It's so cumbersome and it's not visible.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Brilliant. You actually explained it. Thank you guys for your contribution as well. But that's it. Yeah? Zuka and Ezekiel, you're correct. Testing has to be continuous. It has to continue, but no matter how much testing, if you like, continue to test every single day, all the days, you can't just test everything. Of course, if you developed an application that is just maybe 2 features, and yeah, you can test. It's not complex, it's just small. So yeah, we're talking about proper application. Even those small applications, there are some combinations of events you cannot just efficiate. You can't write test cases for every single thing. You can't. It's not possible. You can't say you want to test login, you test with symbol, test with letter, test with normal thing, test with your name, test with my name, test with everybody's name, test, and you'll be shocked. Somebody's name that has Q that will cause the system to fail. Why? So exhaustive testing is impossible. So what do we do if we can't do exhaustive testing? It's about prioritizing. What are the most important things? Or where do we think the most critical, or what are the most critical features? For example, if we have an application, right, a bank application, and the bank application allows us to upload our profile picture for customization, and we have things like transactions, send money to your account, to other account. So if you're trying to test, will you prioritize dedicating most of your effort on profile picture, or you prioritize the transaction? Which one would you do?
Transaction.
Transaction. Because transaction is more critical. If profile picture fails, well, it's bad, but it's not so bad. So long I can go to my transaction, send it seamlessly, debit me correctly, the beneficiary gets money, everything is fine. So what do? We do what? Risk analysis. What are the most risky features? Let's test this one. Critical features. Let's take. So you prioritize. It's just like the same way with life. You have want and you have need. Right? I want to buy a Benz. I want to travel to 7 countries before the end of the year. I want to write some exam. I want to buy different things, buy clothes, buy designer resort. There are many needs, right? But of course, my account balance is not smiling and shaking the head like you're joking. So what do? I prioritize on what I'm going to spend my money on. It's the same thing. You have to look at all the features and balance it out, prioritize your test. Focus on the critical one, do a risk analysis. Which part of this feature is more risky? Like I said, you can't focus on profile picture in a bank app and not worry about the transaction itself and be writing exhaustive test case for profile picture when the impact of that one failing is even low, or the impact of it is not really going to bother your customer. Early testing saves time and money. We've talked about this, right? We talked about this, guys. Can anybody explain this? We talked about this, I think, twice even. Raymond?
I believe if testing goes along with coding, like the tester working along with the developer, some defaults can be found very early, and to just take it's like there's an issue here, please try to look into this, and developer will be like, oh, that's true, and fix it. But getting into release stage where the software is to be released to the market, they're now already released, that will cost so much, especially when it's already released. It's a virus or an hacker or can hack into the software using the loopholes from the defaults, and there might be loss of money. And even if that's not the case, should it be that a default is now found, or defaults are found before the release stage, it will take more effort for the developer to fix those bugs, to start debugging, which might cost more also.
Thank you so much. So just to add, so static test means that we are testing our requirement pretty much. Think about it like that at this level. There's a chapter on that. But when we talk about static test, it means we're just reviewing requirement, documentation, architectural documentation, all of that, trying to find that, yeah, this is fine. There are no defects. We are building the right thing, etc. We are not executing code or any software at that point, at the static level. But dynamic means that, yes, we are now executing the software. We are testing the software. Yeah. So at this stage, at the dynamic stage, we've built the software. It's more expensive to what? To fix bugs. But when we're reviewing document, software has not been built. So it's easier to fix bug. We just need to rewrite the document or rewrite the requirement at that stage. Defect clusters together. Anyone wants to give it a go?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. What it simply means is, I'll take an example like bugs. You get bugs together. Like for instance, you're writing a code, and there's a place that mistake starts. So that's where you start finding the bugs. So it simply means that most of the issues you find in that software are in that place where that code went missing or went wrong. So that's where you start seeing issues. So most of the bugs or defects are always within that area. So with early testing and all of that, you'll be able to detect most of those issues in that very particular place.
Thank you. Thank you. Fantastic. Has anybody heard of 80-20 principle before? Pareto principle. Nobody has heard of Pareto principle. Raymond?
Sorry, it was a mistake. I've not heard anything about Pareto. Yeah, but concerning the defects cluster together, I think it is, since we are looking at software testing principle, I think it suggests that a tester should not assume that since there is more errors in a particular place, there might not be default. Sorry, since there is more default here, okay, this is where priority should be given to, and test that with all rigor, test that rigorously, and give less attention to other parts. I think that's something a mistake a tester should not make.
Thank you. So, brilliant contribution, guys. It's important to know that, different cluster together. Enola is really having fun, laughing, very, very humorous. I don't think I'm that funny. Eh? Enola, what's happening? What's so funny? So, different clusters together. Again, it's similar to the principle of, Pareto. If you look at our habit, 80-20 principle, 80% of, what we achieve during the day is actually from a result of just 20% of our effort. It's cause and effect. Cause and effect. The effect that you get is just from 20%, of your effort. If you look at your day even, you see that you are not productive 100% of the time, right? So I encourage you guys to read more on Pareto principle just for your own knowledge. But just know that defect clusters together. If you analyze a software, you will see that there can be high concentration of defect at one particular part, than the other part of the application. So it's always important for you to have this understanding so that you can approach tests more responsibly. Yeah. We just quickly finish this. The next one is beware of pesticide paradox. Have you heard of this before? Okay. Zuka, question or contribution?
I didn't get you clearly. You said on the principle. I didn't get you clearly. Can you just come again?
Is it for number 5?
You said Pareto principle or something. I didn't hear you.
Yeah. I said 80-20. You can just Google 80-20 principle. 80-20. Pareto.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So number 5, beware of pesticide paradox. Some tongue twisters for me. Let me just explain. So this principle is saying that you should not use the same test over and over and over and over again for your application. If you get to a point where your test cases will become less effective, it's just like if you're familiar with using your Baygon or your pesticide. I don't know what brand you guys use now. I think the one I can remember is Baygon. I hope you guys know what Baygon is. Do you guys know what Baygon is? The what's it called? The insecticide. Yeah. So
Yes.
you notice that if you use it continuously, you use it to kill mosquito or insect and all of that. If you use it continuously for years, those mosquitoes in your vicinity or your house, you start to build resistance to that particular brand of insecticide. And that is why it is encouraged. If you need to mix it up. Use one brand, for a month, change it so that those insects, mosquito, they don't build immunity and it will become more effective. What we are saying is you can't use the same test case over and over and over and over and over to test your application. You need to be able to refine your test cases, modify, because your application also will be changing. If you leave your test case as a static document that you don't review, right, and update accordingly, you will see that you will not find new bugs using that test case. So when you're doing your manual test, you're just, because you're not going to find new bugs. That is what this principle is saying. So it said if the same tests are repeated over and over again, eventually these tests no longer find any new defect. So to detect new defect, you need to update them. You need to update your test cases. Your test case is not a static document, right? And the next one, testing is context dependent. An example, I've used aviation or aircraft example. The way you test an application that flies a plane, you will handle with more physicality and care than if you're just testing a website. What is the impact? The impact of something going wrong with testing a software that navigates a plane is more severe than just some information on a website. Do we agree with that? Do we agree?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So whenever you're testing or you're planning your test, understand that context is very different. The way you tested our website is not the way you test every application, financial application, medical application. So you need to be able to understand the context and to be able to develop test cases that will work and to be able to prioritize tests accordingly, according to their risk and impact. All right. So you can see testing is done differently in different contexts. For example, safety critical industry, control software tested differently from e-commerce mobile. Again, e-commerce, yeah, the worst case, maybe pricing and all of that. But navigation of aircraft, the impact of something going wrong there, death, there's no correction. People will just die. And the last one here, absence of error is a fallacy. We've explained this as well. I've talked about this. There's nothing like no error or there's a perfect application. There's nothing like that. There's no perfect application out there. All application, all software have error. You might not have detected it, but they exist. So, you can see the principle. Absence of errors is a fallacy. Some people that are not tester, or maybe before you attended this class, you might have the notion that, yeah, we can have a perfect, somebody was saying clean code, clean application, no issues. It does not exist. There's always error. You might not have detected it, but they are defect. You might not have met conditions that will trigger it, but they are defect. Always know that. Any question? Any question on this? So we have a few more slides to go on chapter 1. I'm not sure if I should give you this assignment today because we've not finished, but I'm tempted to. So do you guys want to work on this assignment today or you want to work on it tomorrow? Giving you a choice.
I think tomorrow is fine, right, guys? Right, because I think
Why?
yeah, tomorrow.
You have to give me a reason why.
We have so many assignments on our head already, sir. I beg.
All right. I'll leave you guys to enjoy your evening. It's just the first day, so it's 1:30 a.m. here, and I need to go to bed. So you guys should enjoy the rest of your day. I'll speak to you tomorrow.
Thank you
Take
for
care,
your
guys.
time, sir. Thank you
It
for your
was good
time.
meeting you guys. Thank you.
you.
And tomorrow.
Thank you so
Did you?
much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Raymond, love you, sir.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Wonderful to have
Thank you, bye.
you. Oh boy.